Alright, let's do it.
Mad scientist has created a time machine and is forcing you to pick a random period to travel to during the Mesozoic. A lot of your possible options would definitely lead to an unfortunate ending. But whatever you do, you really should not go 150 million years ago. As
Y'all think this is like the worst to time travel back to? I mean, I feel like, bro, like going back in time to like the dinosaur era, the whatever. Like just if I can leave, nigga, if I could exactly like leave, then that would be hard. But if I can't, then nah, nigga, I ain't trying to go. No way. Like just to see dinosaurs would be fire. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
this was an age where instant death was around nearly every corner. Dinosaurs, per usual for the Mesozoic, ruled on land at the time. But even for dinosaur standards, the ones that existed back then were especially terrifying, with certain paleontologists considering this time period to be a golden age for supersized sauropods and meat-loving theropods. Unfortunately, even if you could snap your fingers and make the dinosaurs go away, 150 million years ago would still be a lot of nope, with the land, oceans, and skies harboring a lot of secrets that were, let's just say, unfriendly to life. Welcome to the late Jurassic. During this time, not even a map would do you much good, as Earth's landmasses were fairly unrecognizable compared to current versions, with North America arguably being the most like its current self, having at least maintained a similar shape. Familiarity ends here though, as to the south lays a
So man, that's Erica. So that's Florida right there. Then that'd be Florida down at the bottom. Then.
having at least maintained a similar shape. America arguably being the most like its current self, having at least maintained a similar shape. Familiarity ends here though, as to the south lays a giant mass of merged continents that form together what consider to have been the last supercontinent, Gondwana. This ancient landmass was composed of South America, the Arabian Peninsula, India, Antarctica, and Australia, creating the largest.
So them was all together. And what's that called? Like like the Earth tectonic plates or some shit like that move or something. I don't know.
Continent of the late Jurassic, which covered almost 1/6
I
of the
pay
Earth's
attention
entire
to
surface,
I pay
and from
attention to
space would have looked like a mega
what
blob
it
of land.
is. No, I
Surprisingly, not even Gondwana was the most foreign-looking continent at the time, with that title going to Laurasia, a giant continent within its own right that was made up of present-day Europe, Greenland, and parts of Asia. It, unlike the rest of the Earth, was absolutely covered by expansive waters that split and isolated much of the land, resulting in the countries we know of today being smaller and composed of numerous islands. Europe in particular was an island paradise that bore nearly no resemblance to the present. Its location was quite different too, being closer to North America than it is today. Meanwhile, China was right next to Iran and Turkey, yet extremely far away from India. Evidently, the geography was rather confusing, to say the least. Thankfully, however, late
I'm I'm sitting here trying to figure out what's going on, what he's saying, what he's talking about, man.
Jurassic oceanography wasn't, since only two major bodies of water existed, the Pacific Ocean and the Tethys Ocean. The Tethys was already an ancient ocean at the time, having existed for over 100 million years. It covered the eastern hemisphere and had recently experienced significant tectonic years. It covered the eastern hemisphere time, having existed for over 100 million years. It covered the eastern hemisphere and had recently experienced significant tectonic activity, which had raised it up, resulting in the higher sea levels that submerged large parts of Laurasia. Despite it getting this tectonic boost, it was still smaller than the younger, yet still 50 million year old, Pacific Ocean, which now dominated the entire Western Hemisphere and would continue to expand as time passed. The late Jurassic also saw the emergence of yet another body of water we all know of, the Atlantic Ocean. Although at the time it resembled a
Okay, so look, if y'all choose where y'all want to live, you know what I'm saying? Like what part on the earth would y'all want to live? Because obviously it's not the U.S. I would want to be at. I'm not gonna lie. Like nigga, don't nobody want to be in the U.S., bro, except for the people not in the U.S. I'm not gonna lie.
sea more than anything else, being nearly entirely surrounded by land. The Atlantic's temperatures were also unlike they are today, being remarkably warmer. And this was actually a trend seen worldwide, with seawater averaging 32.1 degrees Celsius or 90 degrees Fahrenheit, making it 25% hotter than the current average. Even in the deepest parts of the Pacific, temperatures were still considerably warmer, hovering around 17 degrees Celsius or 63 degrees Fahrenheit, akin to tap water. This heightened temperature is often attributed to the increased tectonic activity of the time, which would have led to very active volcanoes, thus spewing massive amounts of CO2 into the water. Currently, paleontologists are actually
Bro,
aware of
I
a few of
would
these
just
now extinct volcanoes,
down
one of
to
which
bro,
is Earth's
like
largest known volcano, Tamu Massif.
just see
This
put the
absolute
shoulder
unit
going
is
up,
located
you go
1,600
down, you going right,
kilometers
you
or
going down like
990 miles east of Japan and covers more seafloor than the state of
the
California,
other
while standing
yeah.
almost twice as tall as Mount St. Helens. During its active life, Tamu Massif would have made the oceans more acidic and heated up the atmosphere, leading to warmer conditions on land as well. In fact, 150 million years ago was most likely just about the warmest period in the entire Jurassic, with an average daily temperature of 20 degrees Celsius or 68 degrees Fahrenheit, nearly 15% warmer than today. With this heat, Earth was experiencing climatic conditions that it
Talk about climate change. Huh. Climate and change the light. Sound like for the better, don't it?
had in nearly 50 million years, with both the northern and southern hemisphere witnessing significant amounts of dry biomes, including deserts and savannas, which could be quite harsh on animals, considering that most also had distinct dry seasons, where severe droughts were not unheard of. Towards the equator, things got a little less cutthroat, as drier ecosystems gave
Like I
way to
cannot
lush
imagine
expanse of
living
tropical
anymore,
forests
bro.
that
Like
covered the vast majority of North
that's
Africa.
devastating right
However,
there.
the
That is
most
the
toned
point
down
to where
conditions were not found
you
there
lose
either. Rather, near
it's like what's that one thing that like at times like this you really can't live without, or you really just like this is game over. You know, it's game over. And nigga, if I don't got no clean water, bro, it's not no clean, healthy water around, bro, then it's over with. It's crushed. Like game over, man. Just sign me up, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Take me out, bro. Yeah, you know what I mean, bro. Or some fruit. You know? I might just cry. Holy
and within the polar regions, since back then they were not brutally cold tundras, but rather temperate biomes similar to modern-day Central Europe. The polar regions were so much warmer back then that they didn't even have ice sheets or glaciers, and as a result, life was absolutely plentiful. And even in the harsher arid climates closer to the
um,
equator, life still found a way, with the richest known
it
formations
just had
actually
to be
hailing from these
beautiful
brutal
back then, but
areas.
like
Dinosaurs in particular thrived,
you know,
and were enjoying a level of
train you
diversification
just come and
never
just
yet
run up on
seen.
you just
Of all the groups
yeah,
lumbering around,
the project
theropods,
is crazy.
sauropods, neornithischians, and armored dinosaurs were the most established, with multiple species from each group
Remember
often being found
dinosaurs
within
like
a single
some of the
ecosystem,
most coolest things
resulting in a
ever.
chaoticness rarely seen during the Mesozoic. This is perhaps best demonstrated by the Morrison Formation, which was an expansive North American biosphere that spanned across 13 states and was composed of arid savannas, forests, and shrubland. So far, over 40 dinosaurs are known to have resided there, including at least 10 different theropods, nearly all of which were big enough to hunt human-sized animals. Yet, unlike the Cretaceous, the Morrison's most dominant carnivores were not tyrannosaurs, who had yet to evolve. Rather, Allosauridae. The most abundant of them all was the Allosaurus, typically dubbed the Lion of the Jurassic thanks to its striking appearance. It was a nearly unstoppable predator who sported razor-sharp teeth and a blood-inducing slashing bite that allowed it to
I
hunt
ain't
a
no
wide
way,
range of
bro.
herbivores.
It's just so that big
Studies have
chasing
suggested that it
nigga.
may have even hunted in packs as well. But
Alright,
whatever
come
the
on.
case, it
In
undeniably
packs,
dominated the
right?
lands, accounting for
Like
75%
you
of
got four
all
or five of
carnivore
them
remains.
just coming
With
at
such
me,
numbers, you'd expect it
bro.
to be a
I know
small yet
they gonna play with you, bro. Like that nigga was your worst death ever, bro. Just getting eaten alive back then. Like what? Oh man.
plentiful creature. But no, Allosaurus was a giant by current standards, with adults weighing an average of 1.7 tons and measuring 8.5 meters or 28 feet in length. This comfortably made it one of the biggest predators around. But
No way, bro.
remarkably, even it wasn't the biggest terrestrial predator on Earth, with that title going to the Saurophaganax, which happened to live in North America as well. This, like the Allosaurus, was a member of the Allosauridae family and could weigh up to 5 tons, equivalent to nearly 4 adult giraffes. In addition to classification, it was similar to the Allosaurus in many ways, both possessing robust arms, sharp claws, serrated teeth, and distinct crests. A member of the Allosauridae family and could weigh up to 5 tons, the Allosauriganax, which happened to live in North America as well. This, like the Allosaurus, even it wasn't the biggest terrestrial predator on Earth, with that title going to the Saurophaganax, which happened to live in North America as well.
Saurophaganax.
This,
Bro,
like the
who got the most
Allosaurus, was a member of the Allosauridae
like, bro,
family and could weigh up to 5 tons.
made you just think of the call of you big old lizard on two legs. Saurophaganax, Saurophaganax Maximus. Like what? I mean, bro, how you even put your lips together? You put something together like that, bro. You know what I mean? Like, bro, come on, man. Wow. That
Tons, equivalent to nearly 4 adult giraffes.
order and
In addition to
everything.
classification, it was similar to the Allosaurus in many ways, both possessing robust arms, sharp claws, serrated teeth, and distinct crests, but yet differed in the shape of its vertebrae and obviously body size. Alongside these two, there were still more carnivores who called the Morrison Formation home, with the most well-known ones including the Ceratosaurus, Torvosaurus, and the mysterious Edmarca rex. Both of the latter were Megalosauridae, and were also again gigantic, being more comparable to the
So you just get
Saurophaganax
all
than other
these different
carnivores,
type of
with large specimens of Torvosaurus weighing around 4 tons,
you
while the
got
Edmarca rex could have weighed
have
just as
different
much
types
as the
coming at you
Saurophaganax.
of these
On the other hand,
two
Ceratosaurus,
legs,
while
big old
ferocious, was a large step down from the giant carnivores mentioned, with large adults being similar in weight to polar bears, so obviously still not small by any means.
like
Regardless, many
bro,
still consider it to be the underdog of the Jurassic, overlooking its agility and deadly bite that made it a highly successful predator. And most also forget that giant size was the exception, not the rule, since most Morrison predators were medium-sized like the Ceratosaurus or even smaller. For example, troodontids and early primitive relatives of tyrannosaurids made up the bulk of these smaller carnivores, who seldomly stood above a human's waist in stature.
Transform your newsletter into its very own mobile app and allow your readers to install it.
This may make you wonder how such small carnivores stood a chance in an ecosystem ruled by behemoths. And the answer is simple: niching. Instead of contesting and competing with each other, predators would just occupy different ecological niches, which is exemplified by Ceratosaurus and Allosaurus, with the former being found near bodies of water, whereas the Allosaurus preferred open terrestrial spaces. This helped keep the
oh
peace
wow,
in a theropod-rich environment.
some real classy people, huh?
But peace was not always possible, as America and much of the Earth were subjected to severe droughts that drove nearly all to violence, with fossilized remains indicating extreme amounts of cannibalism, theropod
T-Rex is his own fire. Yeah. You got the Allosaurus in zone 3. You know what I mean? Like, bro.
theropod violence, and scavenging. It was during these moments that being smaller was an advantage, because it meant much less calories were needed to survive. And this of course applied to small herbivores as well, which were mainly made up of Neornithischians. More than 5 kinds are known from 150 million years ago, but a couple of the more common ones would have been the cougar-sized Dryosaurus and the larger Camptosaurus, that weighed about half a ton. Despite their size differences, both had similar diets composed of ground-level plants, and the two also tragically shared a lack of defenses, with speed being their only real Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C, for that matter. This problem, however, was not at all common for other herbivores, as many became ruthless themselves in order to ward off theropods, like the iconic Stegosaurus, who happened to also be the largest non-sauropod you could find, with exceptional adults reaching 9 meters or 30 feet in length and weighing 5.5 tons. Not to mention, it also had a thagomizer, which while may sound funny, would have felt terrible for potential predators, as this was the large bony spikes attached to the end of its tail, turning it into a potent weapon individuals could use to pierce the bone of attacking carnivores, as evidenced in fossils by one unlucky Allosaurus. And Stegosaurus wasn't the only herbivore with a good theropod deterrent in these lands, as fresh on the scene was Murapelta, one of the oldest known ankylosaurs. It was considered
Bro, I'm just thinking about that shit, bro. I'm like, dang, I didn't tame that before. Yo, I didn't tame a few T-Rexes and Allosauruses and stuff before, you feel me? But not in real life. In real life on the game, I was really in real life playing the game, taming them though. But hey, you feel me? Like, and their names are not the same. Obviously, like probably for copyright reasons, but yes, I want to actually
considerably
be a
smaller than
game.
its later relatives, with adults only weighing 562 kilograms or 1,239 pounds. Yet, it did have the trademarked heavy armor that made ankylosaurs famous, with osteoderms spreading across the entirety of its upper body. These osteoderms varied in size and sometimes had sharpened edges, particularly when located near vulnerable spots. Sadly though, armor was no thagomizer, and numerous remains of this ankylosaur were found with signs of predation by theropods. Such a fate presumably extended to other existing armored dinosaurs as well, which included another ankylosaur, the Gargoylosaurus, and the stegosaurid Alcovosaurus. At this point, you may be tired of hearing about so many dinosaurs, but to really drive home the fact that this was one of their golden ages, you cannot forget about the most abundant dinosaurs of them all, sauropods. In fact, 150 million years ago may have been the apex period for this group, as they were typically the most common dinosaurs about, with Camarasaurus holding the title the most abundant animal in the Western Hemisphere. But it was by no means alone, and a mix of different sauropod families ran rampant, with the two key players being the Diplodocids and the Macronarians. Both of these families were powerhouses with multiple iconic members, some of them including household names like Brachiosaurus, Diplodocus, Supersaurus, Barosaurus, Brontosaurus, Apatosaurus, and the honorable mention Marapunosaurus, which belonged to neither family but was absolutely massive. And in reality, every sauropod alive then, including
Fucking skyscraper. Like what? Ain't no way. That would be so fire. Like I would pay to see that, bro. Like a walking skyscraper, like a real life like dinosaur. Like nigga, I'm climbing on it, bro. Like what we gonna do?
those unmentioned,
Shake me
were
off.
pretty massive, with the smallest weighing 13 tons while the largest sat around 70 tons. Naturally, with such crazy fauna, many have been amazed by the Morrison since its discovery. And yet incredibly, the Morrison wasn't exactly special, as much of the world had similar ecosystems where the same groups of dinosaurs dominated. And in some places, even the exact same dinosaurs could be found. For instance, if you try to escape the Allosaurus, Ceratosaurus, or Torvosaurus by fleeing to Europe, you'd still run into them.
Nigga.
While on the flip side, you could also experience some absolutely great sauropod sightseeing in Gondwana. where evidence of Brachiosaurus, Barosaurus, and Camarasaurus were found. And even dinosaurs unique to other landmasses still tended to follow the same trends seen in the Morrison, with many having counterparts across the globe. For example, Tanzania had the titanic Giraffatitan, which played a similar ecological role as Brachiosaurus. Additionally, Tanzania also saw the legs of Kentrosaurus, the Stegosaurian counterpart and close relative of Stegosaurus. In Europe, the exact situation is again seen, with sauropods
Sources and Kentosaurus, they real it's tanks. They gonna eat up some bullets, boy. They gonna eat up some bullets. I want to get it real, like, you know, they might be dead. Take a good hunt around, but nigga in the Arctic, oh man, love them with some trikes and some big, yeah, yeah, yeah.
like the Oceanotitan and
Mm-hmm.
Stegosaurs like the Centaurus peppering the land.
The
Where
one,
Gondwana and Europe differed, however, was that they had a new kind of theropod family not yet seen in North America, or anywhere else for that matter. And that is the Carcharodontosauridae, which were partially characterized by high neural spines,
biggest,
proportionally long arms, and
biggest,
long narrow skulls.
heart.
The oldest and first of them to evolve was the Veterupristosaurus, which resided in Tanzania and weighed up to 1.65 tons, and likely hunted among stegosaurs
Like
and
they
juvenile
fast
sauropods.
like this and they
Strange Strangely, in China, which wasn't far away from Europe, Carcharodontosauridae weren't found, although they had their very own unique apex predator, the Yangchuanosaurus. Following the trend, this was a monstrous theropod, but it was nearly as long as the largest Allosaurus and weighed up to 3.4 tons, making it the largest predator in all of Asia. From a distance, you may mistake it for a unit of an Allosaurus, since the two were closely related and shared many similar features, but they were not cut from the same cloth, as Yangchuanosaurus was not an Allosauridae member, rather a Metriacanthosaurid, which in Greek means moderately spined lizards, so it's not surprising that this group's defining trait was, well, moderately sized spines. Beyond the uniqueness of Yangchuanosaurus, Asia was again much like the rest of the world, with the four main groups reigning supreme and bearing multiple species. Some of the most well-known that lived at the time included Mamenchisaurus, Yingxianosaurus, Donosaurus, and Leishanosaurus. And it wasn't just the dinosaurs that would have made your eyes widen, as the late Jurassic accommodated a wide range of non-dinosaurs too, with the most dominant being crocodiliforms. Like dinosaurs, they came in a variety of sizes, and inhabited a diverse range of habitats, but were usually on the smaller side comparatively. Most, like the gator-sized Amphicaudalis, were semi-aquatic, hunting down fish, amphibians, and turtles that dwelled near them. But a few were actually fully terrestrial and could appear fairly nightmarish, as seen with Halopis, who had slender, skinny limbs, giving it an odd, unsettling appearance. Although, you wouldn't have to worry, because Halopis was a tiny creature that rarely grew taller than a boot, and mostly stuck to insects and other small prey. The other terrestrial crocs were quite small too, likely
How long has the tortoise been alive? The oldest tortoise. I think they seen, like, is it like, is it the tortoise who seen the volcanoes? Is it like who seen the deer right fall? I think I seen something like that. Was it? I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping. I'm not sure. But like, bro, I don't even, bro, nigga, I don't even know why I bring this up, but I'm just so fascinated by this right now. Like, bro, imagine a turtle, nigga, uh, for a million years, and you get to meet that turtle. And imagine if you could talk to that turtle like you just had the power to. That would be so hard.
the
Like,
result of living in the shadow of dinosaurs.
know what,
And another group that ran into this size problem as well was our very own ancestors, the mammaliaforms. By now they'd been around for over 100 million years, and were well adapted for a mix of lifestyles, with older fossils showing that some had developed the ability to glide, climb trees, and be semi-aquatic. Their diets were also quite versatile, with some specializing in plants, while others nibbled on meat or dabbled in both areas, as seen with the omnivorous Guimarododon, who may even have scavenged on dinosaurs. Yet, it was still like other mammalia forms, which is to say, small, as on average these guys were no bigger than a shrew, making them hard to notice amongst so many titans. Nonetheless, there was a group that wasn't exactly giant but were hard to miss. And these were the pterosaurs. The pterosaurs had established control of the skies roughly 80 million years prior to this point and flew mostly unchallenged. Interestingly though, they weren't very populous as only a few remains from the time are known. Yet their bones were geologically widespread, indicating a successful conquest across a significant portion of Earth. Typically, late Jurassic pterosaurs preferred marine and shoreline habitats where they could fill their stomachs with fish, insects, shellfish, and carrion. It's also been hypothesized that the largest pterosaurs could have actively hunted certain terrestrial creatures, with the biggest pterosaur being Lucignathus. This pterosaur lived in Europe and was a leviathan compared to coexisting relatives, with an estimated wingspan of 3.6 meters or 12 feet, which along with sharp straight teeth could have enabled it to hunt other pterosaurs, considering that most were less than half its size. And as king of flyers, the Lucignathus didn't have much to worry about. Although it wasn't alone, as along with pterosaurs, bird-like dinosaurs had managed to take flight as well. In that day and age, they were still a novelty and very rare, with only one kind being known from that specific.
Or whatever them thing that run up on you, shoot acid on you and stuff like that, where you blind and bro, I know that would be a nuisance in real life. Oh my God. Then the big old bugs that'll follow you, and then you got the Trudons, bro. I would never mind, bro. I would not.
Era, the Archaeopteryx. This dinosaur is extremely monumental to paleontology, as it is the earliest known capable of powered flight. There are other contenders for this title too, who date back to 100.
Like they are like fully evolved. Like it's like this had to be this time ever, like for like life. You know what I'm saying? Cause like everything out here is just crazy, ruthless, just killing everything, and like everything is one up in another, bro.
165 million years ago. But thus far, many paleontologists argue on the classification of these older animals. The Archaeopteryx would have used its flying abilities to hunt small prey, including reptiles and insects, and escape predators, as it was a tiny fellow who was similar in size to a modern-day magpie. With so much life around you and above you, you probably won't be surprised to know that the waters were home to many as well, with the major difference being that while a lot of creatures on land were wondrous, the oceans and seas were namely home to pure nightmares. Notably, the plesiosaurs.
It got to be terrible. Like, and it's the fact that, bro, we don't even know basically, bro. It's probably still, it's most definitely still dinosaurs in the water, bro. Like all these things hurt, bro. Like, it's most definitely still is, bro. It's Godzilla's down there, bro.
These were marine reptiles that were distinguished by flat bodies, short tails, four flippers, and had a cosmopolitan distribution, meaning they could be found worldwide. They greatly varied in size, and many were apex predators, with the most terrifying of the bunch being the pliosaur family. While we commonly imagine plesiosaurs with long narrow necks, pliosaurs were the ones that had short necks and massive skulls, filled with sharp, conical teeth, which allowed them to hunt down medium and large.
I'm freezing. It's over with, bro. Like, it's no calming down. Like, once if I'm in the water, bro, and I see something that's like in this natural habitat, water, I'm not in my natural habitat. Oh,
large-sized prey. You've probably heard of the most famous one, the Liopleurodon, but it had actually been dead for 5 million years at the time. Not to worry though, as the late Jurassic found an even bigger, more terrifying replacement, the Pliosaurus. Adults of this pliosaur were among the largest ever recorded, reaching up to 10 meters or 33 feet in length and weighed 5 tons. With their size, they easily killed whatever they could catch, including what we consider the jaws of the modern oceans, sharks. And now, this isn't to say that sharks were chumps back then. Yet, they were no pliosaur and didn't come close in size. But they still would have been a problem for more toned down animals, including fish, and another famous staple of Mesozoic oceans, the ichthyosaurs. While ichthyosaurs had been the true giants for millions of years during the Triassic and early Jurassic, they had experienced a size decline in these days, mainly due to competition with the plesiosaurs. However, this battle definitely wasn't one-sided, as shallow seas and open oceans still had plenty of different ichthyosaur species that filled different niches and could be up to 7 meters or 23 feet long. Which is crazy to think about when considering that Triassic ichthyosaurs were sometimes almost 4 times bigger, making them absolutely horrifying to say the least. Don't panic though, as this time period had one more trick up its sleeve to give you nightmares, and that is the Thalattosuchians, commonly nicknamed the marine crocodiles. In reality, they weren't really true crocodiles, rather primitive distant relatives, though they did superficially resemble modern crocs, with the biggest difference coming from their limbs and tails, which in certain members had evolved into flippers to provide locomotion. Like many other animals, these marine crocs were found globally, and in some locations were apex predators. They had compressed and serrated teeth that allowed them to shear chunks of flesh off prey, which consisted of fish, ichthyosaurs, small plesiosaurs, and turtles. The 2 largest living members, Dacosaurus and Machimosaurus, may have hunted large animals too. And coincidentally, Machimosaurus was actually the largest marine croc we know of, with adults being equal to the largest ichthyosaurs in length. And
You know,